That's so you.
Kinda got a sixth sense.
And a head-up display.
They're here.
Hit the field, warm up. You brought all these players in your Buick?
Yeah,
So you.
it is.
There's a Buick that fits your life because at the heart of every Buick SUV is you.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplified Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplified Development Services.
The new GMC Sierra with hands-free driving offers the most advanced and luxurious pickup in its class. Yeah, it rocks.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
A pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. I want to apologize starting a little late on today's show, but we will have a full allotment of time. That's a 2-hour show. Of course, I'm Carlos Brown, joined by a guest co-host, once again, Charles Edmond. Charles, good morning to you.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Well, I'm doing fine. You know, it's like football, basketball game. A lot of times you got to make an adjustment, and that's what we had to do for the second week in a row. But we're here, and it's always a pleasure to join everyone and talk a little bit of sports talk. I guess the menu looks like this, Charles. Of course, you, Charles Edmond, joining us for today's show. Very special guest will be Coach Eric Dooley, head football coach at Southern University. Right now going on campus, a National Alumni Conference. So he has graciously agreed to give us some time. So he's a busy guy. So we appreciate him joining the Carlos Brown Show. This week's edition. Following Coach Dooley will be Kyle Mosley, Sports Illustrated. He does some New Orleans Saints coverage, Pelicans, HBCU legends. he does a little bit of everything. So we appreciate his time. He'll join us on the show. Here's simply what's trending on today's show. Some news and notes. The Mideastern Athletic Conference, their predicted order of finish, it's out. South Carolina State, number 1, predicted to finish number 1. Number 2, North Carolina Central. Number 3, Norfolk State. Number 4, Delaware State. 5th, Howard. And Morgan State rounding out the predicted order of finish. That is in the Mideastern Athletic Conference. And Charles, just quite simply, it's going to be an interesting race. South Carolina State, much success last season, and they're just known. Coach Buddy Pugh, a tough physical football team, and they were able to defeat Jackson State in the Celebration Bowl. So if you look at it, the Mideastern Athletic Conference has had the SWAC's number. Football, whether it's the Celebration Bowl, one victory, and that's by Grambling State, 10-9 over North Carolina Central. And then the SWAC MEAC Challenge. The MEAC has had the upper hand. And even if you go back to last year, North Carolina Central defeated in my opinion, a heavily favorite Alcorn State in the SWAC MEAC Challenge. So I know when you look at the conference and people think, how long will they stay at 6 teams as far as, football playing teams? What does the future hold? The commissioner of the Mideastern Athletic Conference, she gave her state of the MEAC address, and they're not going to be in any hurry, if I paraphrase it, to explore having more institutions join the conference. But back to football, Coach Pugh, Buddy Pugh, a tremendous coach, and it's going to be an opportunity to see if they're able to win it all and get back to the Celebration Bowl. Charles, the Mideastern Athletic Conference, as I stated earlier, they have had the upper hand against the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and Dr. McClellan states that he would like for that to change and change very soon.
Yeah, it would. We all would. I mean, you would, I would. I've been a part of the Celebration Bowls, and you happen to bring up the painful memories of Atlanta last year in the SWAC MEAC Challenge, in which we lost to North Carolina Central in one of the biggest upsets that we've seen. I think for the Celebration Bowl, considering the calendar, I think if you look at preparation, I think the MEAC has the upper hand because they don't have a championship game. Whereas you've got your regular season ending right before Thanksgiving, and then in a couple of weeks, you've got your championship game, whether you're hosting or playing on the road. And then 2 weeks after that, you've got the Celebration Bowl. Now, is that an excuse? Probably. Is it a justified excuse? Probably. So if you want to look at it from that perspective, they do have the upper hand. But, will it change? I think it will. I think if you look at the SWAC, if you look at the teams in this league that are improving, Southern definitely is improved. We'll see if Alabama State can get it done with Eddie Robinson Jr. and the SWAC MEAC Challenge coming up in 2022. And, who knows? I mean, I think for right now, I think the MEAC does the upper hand. And I think that trend could possibly continue unless we just happen to play better on that one day in Atlanta and in the Celebration Bowl. I just think the Celebration Bowl is more of a preparation factor, the grind of a championship game 2 weeks prior, and then most likely your number one rival prior to that. That's tough. That's a tough grind. Is it an excuse? Yeah, it is. But I think that's just a small part of the issues, especially in celebration.
Well, Charles, and it's interesting, the conversations that has been brought up before, but just my personal opinion, you could use it as an excuse, but I wouldn't, because you look at the grind of a season, and yeah, they have a month off, but I think the average fan supporter, they're going to look at that and say, well, okay, so what? We've got to get in there and get some victories and have some success. And we'll see what happens this year. You know, there are a lot of predictions, and predictions are fun. We've done predictions here at the Black College Sports Network. You have the predicted order of finish. It's good for conversation pieces. But at the end of the day, I like to look back, compare and contrast. What did you say in the beginning? What was the prediction? What did the prognosticators say? And a lot of times, hey, you're way off. Sometimes you're spot on. But, you know, you can come back and see how close you were. Did you nail it? There's other factors, adversity, injuries that happen throughout the season. You hope you don't have too many injuries, impactful injuries. But at the end of the day, the Southwestern Athletic Conference has to do better. But duly noted, what you talked about as far as, you know, the MEAC having some downtime, a month compared to the Southwestern Athletic Conference, going through the grinds, playing a SWAC football championship. It'll be interesting to see how all of it works out. But the predicted order of finish in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, South Carolina State is picked to make it through the gamut and get it done. Also, last week didn't really talk about it as much, but dated July 22nd, the SWAC announces its 2022 ESPN football schedule, and I have a copy of it right here. Of course, it starts off because in 2 days is August the 1st, so you're looking very shortly. Alabama State and Howard on ESPN. Can Alabama State under Coach Robinson get the conference off on a good start? We just talked about it. Even in the SWAC MEAC Challenge, the MEAC has had the upper hand. And look, I've said that about 5 or 6 times already. So, with that being said, that starts it off. Of course, you have Miles and Alabama State, September the 3rd. Just kind of pick out some of the bigger games. Of course, Texas Southern and Prairie View A&M on ESPN Plus. Grambling State and Jackson State, September the 17th. That's on ESPNU. So you see a few more games on ESPNU. ESPN Plus. Now, as far as Southern University, of course, at Prairie View A&M, that's going to be October the 8th, ESPN Plus. And the Southern Jackson State game to be announced October 29th. But I got a release from Jackson State Sports Information Department or Athletic Department, and that game, at least from their release Jackson State put out, that's going to be a 1 p.m. game on October 29th. I'm kind of shocked by that, but I was told that Coach Sanders made a comment, college football is best played in the afternoon. But for those Jackson State alums and followers and Southern, you know the history of this football game. That game, in my humble opinion, is best played in October at nighttime, 6 p.m. You have all day to energize that crowd, and it doesn't have to have too much energy going into that ball game, but have to make an adjustment, even with the show. If it's a 1 p.m. game, that changes the dynamics as far as what you're doing before the game. Hey, but they'll still show up, Charles, but 1 p.m. game, but to be announced. That, just my opinion, I would not be surprised if that game is on ESPN2. Hell, it could be ESPN. But I'm going to make a bold prediction, ESPN2. But those are just, some of the highlights. But you can go look at the whole 2022 ESPN football schedule.
Yeah, a game like that, my guess, because of the TBA and just my own guess on this, is that they want to see how the standings shake out. And if that game has huge implications, the bigger the implications will determine where that game goes. And so if I think right now it'll probably be on Plus, but if Jackson's undefeated, if Southern's undefeated, that game could be bumped up to U or 2. So I think that could be what's in play there. Let's just see where the standings play out, and see where that goes. For us, uh, I'm looking at our schedule. We got a Friday night game, Carlos. I think we play Prairie View, on a Friday, and I think that's going to be interesting. As we roll down the line here. If you looked down at the schedule, I don't have it pulled up, but I do know that Prairie View Alcorn game at Prairie View is going to be on a Friday night, and I think they got 3 days in a row. I think a Thursday, Friday, and a Saturday game, if I'm not mistaken. From when I glanced at the schedule, you got it there in front of you. Am I correct on that one? Is it a Thursday, a Friday, and a Saturday?
What is that, in November?
Yeah. It's the last, first November in, it's the first Friday in November. And I think they might have a Thursday game, then a Friday game, I think a Saturday game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, November the 4th, Alcorn State at Prairie View A&M, ESPNU. And Texas high school football is really huge. Really huge. And so a Friday night, and let's just be honest. Maybe the Prairie View A&M alums that are watching, they could tell me attendance has not always been a good thing to point out for as far as Prairie View A&M. So a Friday night, you got some variables there. You're going up against Texas high school football, and that's going to be interesting. That is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, Charlie Neal was at Media Day, and he told me this 10 years ago about the whole ESPN dynamic and the changes that you have to make, like we're going to make when we play Prairie View on a Friday. And even though some of these games this year are going to be on some other platforms, you have to make those adjustments if you want to continue to be on those platforms. So these type of adjustments, do have to be made in order to keep the continuity in terms of where we are. So, some games that might have been on a Saturday could be pushed to Thursday. And we're playing Prairie View on a Friday, November 4th. That will be a very interesting game, to say the least, because then we've got Bethune the next Saturday and then Jackson State the following Saturday. That game right there, that's another one of those games where I said last year when we played Bethune, when I said it this time last year, I kind of held my breath. That's one right there. We got to put a circle around. Alcorn at Prairie View on a Friday night. That will be a very, very intriguing game at that point in the schedule.
Well, it's interesting. Good morning to everyone who's watching, and that's also in the chat room. Rube had something interesting. 1 p.m. start is good for the road team. Won't have a juice home crowd. Well, Rube, I understand that. And talking to Coach Pete Richardson, former head football coach at Southern University, a legend and himself an iconic figure, he told me once, when you're playing road games, he did like an afternoon game. You don't have to sit around all day till that night game. But I guess I'm thinking about the atmosphere, the crowd, and it'll still be juice. It'll still have electricity there. But just in my humble opinion, I just kind of wish it was a night game. But that's just me. I guess I'm being selfish, but I'm still showing up for the game. But just the magnitude of that game, and if both teams are coming in with outstanding records, boy, you don't need any more encouragement. It could very well play an important game as far as the standings and the championship run in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. But hell, if they don't have great records, it's just the magnitude when those two teams get together. It is electricity in the air, and you got the tailgating going on Friday, Thursday, coming up to that ball game.
Wednesday.
Wednesday the RVs start pulling in. But to your point, Rube, I understand. I just like that particular game being played later in the evening. Now I know probably on October 29th, the temperature should be very mild. So we'll see. But I appreciate Rube's comment on that, and others may feel the same way. You're playing on it's a road game. You want to get to the action quick.
Well, I will say this, Carlos, because we've been accustomed here at Alcorn to play our games at 2:00. So you're talking about a big game like we're playing Jackson State, I believe, at 2:00. So to your point, you might like night games, but then now you're playing your big game at home at 1:00. That means you're going to have to get up probably at 3:00 in the morning and try to beat that traffic, because traffic's going to be right there and heavy before the sun comes up. So you're going to have to make those adjustments. If you've been partying all night, you might as well either stay up or, get you a little bit of rest. And because you know how traffic is in and around the vet. It's not easy, especially as you get closer to kickoff. Parking will probably be sparse at best. And so you just got to make those adjustments. And it is different when you're used to playing that game at 6. The last Southern Jackson game I attended, I know there was 50,000 people in that stadium 3 hours before kickoff, before the bands rolled in. That's just the type of intensity that you have for a game like that. And it's probably going to be 50,000 people in the stadium at 9:00 in the morning. If I were just to take a guess, people are going to get there early to try to beat the traffic and beat the crowd. So it'll be an exciting atmosphere, even though it'll be a lot earlier than most people would like.
But interesting 2022 ESPN football schedule. ESPN Plus, ESPN, ESPNU. They have games all across the ESPN family of channels. With that being said, one quick thing, Chastity Totten named the first woman to have men's basketball assistant coach with the league. Mississippi Valley State, of course, head basketball coach George Ivory. She played basketball at UAPB, GSU, undergrad, sports administration. So I just wanted to mention that is historic in itself. And so I like the move. Look, if it was up to me, and this is not controversial what I'm about to say. Women, I'm at the point now, women, I'm ready for a woman president. I'm ready for a woman to run the government. They have proven in most cases to do a much efficient job. Even the budget director at the house that I'm at. Hey, kudos. But that's historic in itself, Charles.
I love it. When I read that, I was absolutely elated. And I know George Ivory, and he's doing some good things at Valley. I think he's going to improve that program tremendously. And that hire and that moment, Chastity Totten played at Mississippi Valley, a really good shooter. I think that's a really, really good move. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. To have that happen when it happens, I think is terrific. So hats off to Mississippi Valley Athletics, and especially hats off to George Ivory for that move. And I think there'll be more to come. I don't think it's the end. I think it's just the beginning throughout HBCU sports, and especially in the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
You know what? One day soon, maybe I'll have a woman guest co-host. Hey, that goes for us in the media. We've got to do a better job. Got to do a better job, and I am guilty as charged on that as well. Want to take a quick time out. When I come back, I'll be joined by Coach Eric Dooley, head football coach at Southern University, getting ready to go start his first fall camp as a head football coach at Southern University. Now, he's had experience with Southern Fall Camp in the past, but as an assistant coach, now as the head coach. He'll join us next. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. We'll be right back after this quick timeout.
Some carriers will give you just one measly entertainment subscription. One is no fun. With Verizon, there's up to 7 entertainment subscriptions with your unlimited plan. That's 7 times the... 7 times the... No! 7 times the... Music, gaming, Disney Plus, Hulu, ESPN Plus, and more. That's 7 times the entertainment! Because everyone deserves better.
And with plans starting at just $35, better costs less than you think.
For 5-star backyards, Yellowwood brand pressure-treated pine. If it doesn't have this yellow tag, you don't want it.
Are you ready? It's time. The inaugural Urban NerdCon is coming to Montgomery, Alabama, July 29th through the 31st.
World, what's happening? Rob Morgan here. Just letting you know, July 29th through the 31st, I'll be at Montgomery, Alabama, Urban NerdCon. Come on out, get something signed, take a photo, say hello, let's share some stories and create some memories, you know? Peace.
So join us by visiting theurbannerdcon.net for ticket and vendor information. This will be the premier blurred event in the universe. Theurbannerdcon.net. Our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone's con. See you there.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Are you ready? It's time. The inaugural Urban NerdCon is coming to Montgomery, Alabama, July 29th through the 31st. Blurs, nerds, and geeks from across the universe will converge on the capital city to see celebrity guests such as The Last Dragon, Tybok, Megan Tandy, and voice actor Dave Fennoy.
Hey, how you doing? I'm voice actor Dave Fennoy with a shout out to all my geeks, freaks, and urban nerds. Just want to let you know I'm going to be there and I want to meet you at the Urban NerdCon Gaming and Cosplay event. It's happening July 29th through the 31st in Montgomery, Alabama. Hope you want to meet me as much as I want to meet you.
So join us by visiting theurbannerdcon.net for ticket and vendor information. This will be the premier blurred event in the universe. Theurbannerdcon.net. Our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone's con. See you there.
That's a pretty tight spot.
Watch this.
Of course your Buick parks itself. That's so you.
It's just up here on the right.
Of course you know where we're going. That's so you.
Kinda got a sixth sense.
And a head-up display.
They're here.
Hit the field, warm up. You brought all these players in your Buick?
Yeah,
So you.
it is.
There's a Buick that fits your life because at the heart of every Buick SUV is you.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplified Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplified Development Services.
new GMC Sierra with hands-free driving offers the most advanced and luxurious pickup in its class. Yeah, it rocks.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids' apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Coles Brown Show, right here on the Black College Sports Network. We're going to make another adjustment. We're going to have Coach Dooley. We're going to switch him as a guest with Kyle Mosley, who you see is up and ready to go. Kyle, good afternoon. How are you doing, sir?
Well, first of all, it was great meeting you, Carlos. Great meeting you, Charles, in person, man. I think that was the highlight of my SWAC Media Day, but we can go on and talk a little bit further. But it's great. It was great to meet you guys, really. And I'm honored.
Yeah. Well, the same here. And there were a lot of Black college sports media there. It was a great event. And I've often shared this. It's always good to see your colleagues. And for you guys, first time meeting you. So, you know, we've met via the show, but in person. And what a I would say a great event. You know,
I thought it
meeting your
was as
colleagues.
well.
Yeah. What were your specific things that you liked about SWAC Football Media Day?
Well, besides meeting the colleagues, like you said, and that was the number one on my list of things to do to be able to meet you guys. Had a chance to be able to meet with those guys at game day, you know, Tolly Card. Well, I know I've met Tolly before, but Steven, I never had a chance to officially meet him. We've been in the same room together, been in the same press rooms together, but we never had a chance to really chop it up. And that was a pleasure there. You, Charles is like a gentle giant. Number one, if guys y'all don't know, if you see Charles right there, you got to see him in person. Charles must be like 7 feet. You know, I'm kidding, Charles, but he's very tall.
No, he's
but
actually 7 feet tall.
yeah. And so there you go, 7 feet tall, very nice, personable, loving. You know, he and Keisha Kelly had a chance to chop it up there with those three. You know, and as well as you, Carlos, and Brian, and getting to meet Brian in person. You know, I've seen Dr. Cavill. Since we're in Houston together, we've talked and everything to that nature. But to see a lot of you guys in person, and it was just great to be able to do so. Because number one, a lot of people don't know this. Even though I haven't officially covered HBCU sports, I have always been a fan of what you guys have done from afar.
Well, appreciate the kind words, and a lot of things besides information given out, predicted order, finish, just the personalities, you know, the coaches. There was I think, a somewhat unofficial poll about which coach was the best dressed, which student athletes were the best dressed. You know, Roland Martin was there.
Yeah, look, I gotta tell you a quick story. So my tripod has a ball on it and the head. And I have it around
Mhm.
here somewhere. So I left it here in Houston.
Uh-oh.
So I had the tripod body, but not that. So I had to go and run early in the morning to Walmart through an Uber. Got back in time, and I was going upstairs on the same floor. I'm walking, and I see this guy coming out of his room with this mustard gold suit on and Grambling hat. And I realized, oh, that's Hugh Jackson. So I said, hey, coach, what's going on? How you doing? And I'm looking, I'm like,
Mustard.
man, yeah, it must, it was a bright mustard gold, right? So,
Ah,
and that was the first suit he had on. Remember, he changed 3 times. So that was the
mhm.
first one. They did a little photo shoot. Then he had the black one. Then he went to his solid black main suit with a red shirt. But I got a chance to see him firsthand coming out of the room, and I kind of kicked myself because I was like, man, I should have taken a photo of him, right? But I was more excited to see Hugh Jackson than to really say, let's have a photo op here. So being able to meet the coaches is always great. A few of those guys I have already met in via interviews or things to that nature. So that wasn't a big deal. But those young men were very impressive. The players having a chance to be able to meet some of those guys like Andrew Body, Mark Evans, uh, the young man Demontre Monterio Anderson from Texas Southern as well. The guys from Southern University, I think Dallas Black, he was one that
Mhm.
was pretty impressive as well. So, just being able to have that opportunity to meet these young men who we will be covering this entire season was very good to have that person to person interaction.
And Charles and Kyle, when they're on the main stage, and when they're talking to the coaches and the players with Jay Walker and Tiffany Green, did did you guys get that the coaches kind of they know about expectations? Me and Charles have done a couple of segments and about who's under the most pressure, but can we agree that all of them are under a certain amount of pressure? Because I think everybody upgraded their football program. You agree or disagree?
I agree. I don't know about you, Charles, but I think when you look at from Texas Southern's standpoint, having a chance to speak to Coach McKinney, he had what 50 freshmen, he said, that were playing
Mhm.
last season. So you have a year of maturation there. Then you look at Coach Dooley, and he and I were, and we would talk. I was like, you just were hijacking guys left and right from across the SWAC and through the portal. He upgraded his system, and he had Dumas to leave PB to follow him to Southern. So that's a big feather in his cap because we know what he can do. What what's it, Deion Jordan on the other side can do as well. So those two attacking as pass rushers is going to really help Southern. And of course, what Coach Prime and those guys at Jackson State are doing as far as upgrading their system, having a chance to be able to meet Travis Hunter face to face. Very impressive young man. And hearing Deion Sanders said that at age 18, he's far beyond where could ever have dreamt to be is pretty bold statements to be able to have. So if you look at the SWAC as a whole, I think even Alabama A&M is surprising that the confidence that Coach has, especially after losing Aquil Glass, it makes you really say what's going on there as well. That's going to be, could there be a surprise team to be able to watch as well as Florida A&M? I just heard a couple of interviews that they had from their fall practice, the first one, and Coach Simmons looks like he's pretty confident in the athletic abilities of this team and saying that they're better than they were last year. Think about it. That team was 1 point away from tying or 2 points away from defeating Jackson State in the Orange Blossom Classic, and they went to the FCS playoffs. And I was there in Hammond to be able to watch them, but they fell to SLU. But think about it, this is a pretty impressive team. So, all in all, if you look at everybody in the SWAC, East, West, it doesn't really matter. It's going to be competitive, you know. And I have to like my New Orleans native, Mr. Eddie Robinson Jr. Just being able to hear how confident he's going to be going into the season. I don't know what his team is going to do, but the confidence of each one of these coaches in their team seems to be evident.
Well, Charles, everyone's confident, but I have a feeling which team that goes through some adversity, how will they adjust to that? Could we say that Coach McNair at Alcorn State and Coach Simmons at FAMU picked to come in second? They're that good, especially if you look at the voting, particularly between Alcorn and Southern. It was right there, a point differential as far as that. And then FAMU feeling, hey, we've updated our football team, and we were 2 points away from winning it. Much is given, much is expected. Charles, what about FAMU and Alcorn State, and then Alabama A&M? I mean, Coach Maynard always confident, but the big question is they had to upgrade their defense, and they went through the portal to get that done. So it's a lot of underlining issues, chemistry for all of the teams who went through the transfer portal. That is something we'll have to see as the season goes along.
Well, yeah, I'll get to that point, the most important part. Kyle talked about the fashion part of it, how these coaches look and how the players look. I saw someone at the SWAC office, and I came up with a suggestion. Why not have a red carpet special leading up to the actual event? And I got a response and saying that's
like it.
A good idea. It's something, I don't know whether it's going to go any further than that or not, but I mentioned it the other day, and it's just like, why not? I mean, because you're seeing that these coaches are dressing, these players are dressing. Why not? I mean, I think the MEAC has tried something like that in the past from what I was told the other day. So that's just something, we all love the SWAC and we all want to see something, we want to see bigger and better. So that's something that I just threw out there. But, I was really impressed with all the coaches. Eddie Robinson Jr. really impressed the heck out of me. When I talked to him, I talked to every coach except Hugh Jackson, who was kind of on a time constraint at the end. But, I was impressed with just his demeanor, his calm confidence in trying to build his football team. I think, Carlos, I'm kind of going to flip the script here because we talked about Alcorn and pressure. There is pressure, obviously. The Braves won 6 out of the last 7 division titles, moving to the West. It's the second year there. You got Dooley. To me, I think, being picked to win the West, I think it was because of Dooley and because of, obviously, the changes he's made. I thought it would be maybe either Prairie View in spite of Dooley leaving. The roster still is in place for the most part. So I wouldn't have been surprised if Southern or Prairie View would have been picked to win the Western Division. But there's pressure all over the place. I mean, considering what Jackson State is doing, considering the way the West now being so uncertain because you don't know, that makes it even more pressure-packed because now it's wide open in which team is going to be able to figure it out quickly. It's going to take a little time because we got tough schedules to start the season. Alcorn opens up with the number 10th ranked team in the FCS. You got Texas Southern Prairie View. You got FAMU. They played North Carolina before they played Jackson State. How will they come out of that game? You always talk about those matchups. You get the big check, but then you get broke up, as we say out on the streets. Willie Simmons can't afford to have his team go through that leading into the next week against Jackson State. So to answer your question, I think there's pressure all over the lot. Can Coach Maynard rebuild with all those D1 transfers? You got to replace Glass. You can't, but you got to have a serviceable quarterback. You got Coach Dancy at Mississippi Valley, 3 wins. The administration obviously is impressed with what he's doing. He's on an upward trajectory, and I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. So there's a lot of talk all over the league, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how this pans out.
Sounds like, Charles, you've had a change of heart with the pressure. We've had some interesting debates. I'm glad you have now come over to the other side. it's not that we're going to have any input of any coach getting let go, but when everybody talks about how they've improved, man, this 2022 season will be pressure filled, but it also will be exciting. So, with that being said, the predictions, if they come to fruition, you could possibly see Southern and Jackson State, if it goes to form, playing twice. Fam, you will have something to say. Alabama A&M, you know, someone sent me an email and said, look, that whipping that Jackson State put on Alabama A&M last year, he had to make changes. It was a 61-17 victory. But how teams handle that pressure, how coaches handle that pressure. Coach Sanders, you know, remember, Charles, I said he has pressure because now he's going to get everybody's A game. Some people may say no, you know. He said at SWAC Media Day, Football Media Day, that he wants to dominate. Dominate. That's a lot of pressure because, you know, I would take a win, whether it's by 5, 1 point, or a blowout. And I like a couple of blowouts. So, you know, I had a big, bold prediction with Southern and Grambling in the Bayou Classic. But guess what, guys? That is a lot of pressure. You want to dominate. To me, that definition means those games will not even be close if I'm dominating. I don't think he meant dominating and you're winning by 1 or 2 points or you squeak by. Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be to the point where Mississippi Valley State had 60 points per game average those years with Jerry Rice and those guys. Nothing to that nature. But in order to dominate, your offense has to be clicking on all cylinders. And unless they have improved that offensive line at Jackson State and the defensive line at Jackson State, that's what you really got to look at. Even when I covered the National Football League, you look at the offense and defensive lines to be able to determine if your team that you're covering will have a productive season. And if you see any leaks there, then you have a lot of questions because that quarterback has to stay upright, whether you like it or not. That defensive line has to be able to put pressure on a quarterback or be able to stop the run, right? That's your first line of defense and your first motive of offense. So you have to be able to look at the lines. And when I looked at let's say not Alabama, but University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. Of course, you have Mark Evans on one end, and you have the other young man, I forget his name, but those guys are now mature in how they can be able to block for Skylar Perry. So that's a team that you may need to watch in the long run, right? You look at the upgrades that Texas Southern has subtly made. They stayed under the radar. You didn't hear much about portal this and transfer here and there from Texas Southern. But Andrew Body, you know, you have another year under the belt for this young man, and he's very fast, quick. He's gaining a little bit more confidence. What type of season is he going to have? And he may shock a couple of people. Remember, they were putting it to Jackson State early in that game until Jackson State ran away with it in the second half. So I think all in all, man, I think we have more of a parity that's starting to form in both the Eastern and Western divisions right now. Of course, injuries and how you coach will be able to affect what's going to happen on the playing field. But I have to think that right now, like Coach McKinney told me, he said, everybody's 0-0. So until we go into that game, in that first games of the season, that will help determine who's going to be the ones to really look out for. In that game you mentioned, Charles, against North Carolina and FAMU, that is a concern of mine. I think Jawan passed last season after he got rocked by Texas A&M affected him that next game against Jackson State in the SWAC championship. So those are some issues that you have to look at, and also look at the quarterbacks. And some of the guys were not sure about their quarterbacks. Prairie View, Bubba McDowell, he wasn't quite confident in his quarterback situation. I know Willie Simmons said they're going with Rashawn, but is he confident in Rashawn? Even though they went as far as they were able to go, but they weren't able to go any further. And I saw firsthand that quarterback play became an issue in Louisiana.
Well, it's going to be interesting because we've talked about it, how many teams are breaking in Colin Charles quarterbacks. We're scheduled to have Coach Dooley coming on next, and it seems that their quarterback room is going to be set with McCray getting the start. But when fall camps are about to start, and then we're going to get into some Saints talk quickly. I think coaches, just me, I think coaches know who their number ones are. They still like to see, competition. But I think the biggest battles in camp will be who are going to be steady and consistent backups. You're one injury away from your backups getting in. Is there going to be a big gap between the ones and the twos on the FCS level in football? Those are some things that you're going to have to find out in fall camp. So, do you agree that the biggest battles will be for the backup positions because coaches kind of know who their starters are going to be in most cases, but there still will be some competition and some battles going on in camp?
Yeah, I think even in all football camps, depth really can play the key issue later in the season in case a number one gets injured for 2 3 day games or even an extended period of time, right? So if you have a solid depth at your quarterback position, your wide receiver, your skill position players, that's great. But how about your defense? Do you have a good enough depth along your defensive line or the linebackers, even your secondary, right? So I don't know if I could say right now that other than looking at Jackson State, Southern, Grambling has some depth that's pretty decent, and FAMU, there's a whole lot of depth across the SWAC. Charles, maybe you see something different over at Alcon. I haven't seen yet, but I'm just saying right now, depth, like you said, Carlos, can play a critical key in how teams can continue winning this season.
Well, yeah, I can answer that question. I interviewed our offensive coordinator last night, a long interview, Elliot Ratton, and we talked about the continuity and the backups. He says the most intense battles he sees in camp, which for the Braves start Friday morning at 7:45, is our first practice. The offensive line. And I go back a few years. We played. Kyle, I don't know if you know this. We played Arkansas in Little Rock a few years ago, and in that game we played 5 offensive linemen, 80 snaps against the Razorbacks. That's how thin we were at that time at up front. Mm-hmm. This year we have a lot more depth, and he's really interested in the battles for the guards in terms of the backups, the 2s and the 3s. I have our depth chart right here, and we've got about 16 offensive linemen here on our depth chart right now. So I think that's going to be the key, because offensively we could not do what we've been doing. I think, Carlos, you would agree, knowing Alcorn and how they're able to score the football and do the things that we've been able to do. We didn't do a lot of that last year, and our OC admitted that last night when I talked to him. Like, we just didn't have those explosive plays, and that was in part because of the lack of depth up front. So I think that's going to be the key, having depth up front and building that depth and continuity especially, once fall camp rolls around. I think that's going to be critical in the trenches for how Alcorn, and I think a lot of teams do. You talked about Jackson State, and I talked to Coach Sanders about this when I interviewed him. He's like, look, Shedeur Sanders was a freshman. He didn't look like a freshman to me, over 3,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, and we couldn't run the football, which they couldn't. And they haven't for a long time. Jackson State's running game has been anemic for a long time. But he feels like he can dominate with his defense and special teams, which they did last year. I think it's going to be tough, though. 7 road games, including the last 3 on the road. A&M in Mobile, Texas Southern in Houston, and Alcorn at Alcorn. It ain't gonna be easy, folks. If you're a Jackson State supporter, it ain't gonna be that easy this go around. It might happen, but it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, tough schedules all across the board, right, Carlos and Charles? I mean, think about it. If you say there's a gimme game, you can't see it. You can't really say there's any gimmies right now in the SWAC. And I know Mississippi Valley State only 3 wins, but people forget how competitive they were against Jackson State to the last minutes, right? How competitive they were against, who else was it? Grambling, was it? Or did they I forget if they defeated Grambling or whatever.
Bethune-Cookman, Florida A&M.
Bethune-Cookman, right. And so, so the energy that you saw, I saw the confidence in Dancy's eyes as well. That's another thing, Carlos, that really helped me in preparation and thinking about some of these teams. Seeing the coach's eyes and seeing how they respond to questions and seeing the respect that these players have for their coaches and listening to the people around them, that really helped to kind of formulate some notions of what to expect for me, in what we're going to see in the SWAC.
Well, and I look at it, and you're right. Everybody has a tough stretch of games, whether it's in the beginning, the end, some in the middle. You look at Southern, and Dr. Cavill brought up a point that he thinks it's going to be tough. He says they're going to be undefeated in divisional play, but he has the 2 losses coming in those Eastern opponents, one being Jackson State on the road, and then the next week at FAMU. If I use an old basketball analogy, you want to win them all, but if you can leave and get a split, you know how we talk about in basketball. So everybody has a tough stretch. They really do. But again, I think depth, being able to overcome adversity, the intangibles, all of those things come to play in a season. Talking about camps, Kyle, a lot of New Orleans Saints fans that watch this show. Now, we know Charles is not a Saints fan, but they've started
we'll
camp,
excuse
right?
Charles. Charles, you're a Vikings fan, right?
I'm a Rams fan.
Rams.
A Rams.
Okay, all right.
He's a Rams
I do have a
homer.
question for you, Kyle, when we have time. I have a Saints question, though.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. Well, but Jameis Winston, looking pretty good coming off major surgery. But the biggest news was put on the physically unable to perform list. And then lo and behold, he's out there running around. Michael Thomas like, hey, nothing wrong with me. Kind of give us some quick thoughts on the initial opening days of Saints training camp.
Yeah, it was quite surprising. Chris Allen, as well as GM Mickey Loomis, stated in the pre-training camp press conference that he was going to be on the PUP list, right? Physically unable to perform. The next day, he was out there active with these guys, running the routes, looking good, looking like Mike, just like you can't guard Mike. Yeah, you cannot guard this Michael Thomas. And I don't know if it was more of a situation that Michael Thomas decided when he spoke to Dennis Allen as well as Mickey Loomis that morning that I needed to give it a go, but he sure does look pretty good the first 3 days. Now today he rested. They gave him the off day, and it would have been pretty decent, in my opinion, to be able to have him out there today because the fans, this was their first time to get a glimpse of the new team under Dennis Allen. So, but other than that, man, Chris Olave, he had a 60-yard touchdown strike from Jameis Winston early this morning. Jameis Winston had two back-to-back interceptions, but then he had two back-to-back touchdowns. So I like what's happening with this team. Very competitive defensively. The defense is the strength of this team, like it has been for the whole season. And now, if that defense can continue because they have a lot of depth, and we just talked about depth. That's going to be very important.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the question marks I do have for the Saints is the offensive line. They lose Teron Armstead, who was with them, 8-9 seasons, right? And he's now with the Miami Dolphins. What I saw of James Hurst as well as Trevor Penning, the first-round draft choice out of the Northern Iowa, it was just a couple of plays, but it was concerning because they were getting beat by speed. So that's a position, Carlos. I know you're a Saints fan. You need to really be paying attention to how the left tackle position is working. Now, Jari Evans, who is a future Hall of Famer, in my opinion, he has been an intern coach with the Saints this training camp. He's going to be there helping out, and you saw him coaching up Mr. Cesar Ruiz, who is the guard out of Michigan that the Saints selected a couple of seasons ago. So right now, I like the offense. They're pretty set with the skill guys, and we still don't know what's going to happen with Alvin Kamara. If there's going to be any type of suspension or not, we should know in a few days when he returns to Vegas for the August 1st hearing. So right now, will the Saints be able to be competitive in the National Football League as well as the NFC South? Yes, is the question. And if you didn't hear, Tom Brady just lost his center due to a severe knee injury on yesterday, if I'm not, or the day before yesterday. So that's a concern for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because they already lost two of their guards that started last season. Of course, they got their tackles with Worth and I forgot the other young man. But when we look at what happens, and I keep on harping on this, Sean Payton used to always say it, look at your lines. The line play will dictate how this team will go for, or if they can go deep into a postseason.
Charles, you look like you want to. You have a question.
What's your question, Charles?
I'm a Rams fan. Everybody knows that. But when I look at the Saints, my best friend who does sideline for us, he is a diehard Saints fan, season tickets, the whole 9 yards. But when I look at the Saints, it's two things. Number one, I don't know if people know this, they have the 7th or maybe the 9th toughest schedule in the National Football League. The back end of that schedule is brutal. The Rams, the 7th toughest. Mm-hmm. So you talked about Kamara, and I've read in some places it could be anywhere from 4 to 6 games he might be missing. That's interesting. And then you talked about Jameis Winston returning to the pre-Jameis Winston form in which he was 5-1 before he got hurt. To me, those two factors I think will determine the Saints' fate. How they handle the first 6 games, perhaps without Kamara, and can Jameis Winston return to that 5-1 form? If they can weather that storm, considering what Tampa's dealing with right now, Carolina uncertain at quarterback a little bit, in Atlanta, I think the Saints can be okay. But if those first 6 games, they're 2-4, then the back half of that schedule, you got the Raiders, the Rams. I don't know. I mean, I like the Saints. I watch them, but that first 6, 7 games are going to be interesting to me. Am I wrong about that?
Well, I would put it to. I always look at the first 4 games, Charles, and the first 4 you have Atlanta, the Buccaneers, Carolina, and the Vikings. Well, the Vikings, that's a game that's going to be played in London, right? So um, I don't see this Vikings team unless Kirk Cousins. I think that he's going to have a little bit more freedom without Zimmer there. And I understand he and Zimmer didn't really care for one another all those years. But that's going to be a game that the New Orleans Saints can win in London. They're a pretty decent record. I think the first 4 games, all in all, the Saints could have a 4-0 record or at least a 4-1 record because the game in New Orleans, the second game with Tampa Bay, is in New Orleans. So they go on the road first to Atlanta, then they go back on the road again to Carolina, and then of course they across the pond in London. So then you follow up with the Seahawks and the chart and the Bengals. Now, those are 2, I wouldn't say problematic games because the Seahawks are still unsure about what's happening with their quarterback situation. But we know when it comes to the Bengals, that's going to be a very competitive and one of the best games of the year that's going to happen inside of Caesars Superdome. So then you go on the road with the Cardinals. Colin Murray may give him some trouble last season. Then you follow up with the Raiders, Derek Carr. Those guys took it to them at Allegiant Stadium. Then you have Lamar Jackson. He comes in town. So that first half of the season is going to be very competitive. You got some high-profile guys that they're going to have to deal with, and of course the Rams. And then when they face the Rams November 20th, I think Jalen Ramsey is going to be pretty quiet when it comes to how he's going to deal with Michael Thomas and Chris Olave as well as Jarvis Landry. So then when you wrap up the seasons against the 49ers, the Buccaneers, the Browns, and the Eagles, and the Carolina, I don't see that as much of an issue there. A lot of people, I know they have the perception that Tom Brady is already the anointed MVP and Super Bowl champion, but the New Orleans Saints have really put it to him. He is 0-4 during the regular season against the Saints. And really, the Saints were going to win that postseason game if it were not for the couple of interceptions Drew Brees threw. And I don't want to throw him under the bus, but that's what was happening. so bottom line is, man, is it a very strong schedule? Yes. But injuries are volatile. And the volatility of who gets injured and who doesn't get injured really plays a key. This season, if there's a problem with Jameis, with injury with Jameis or something to that nature, you do have a backup, a very capable backup in a past starter with Andy Dalton. Last season, they didn't have that. They just had Taysom Hill and Trevor Siemian. So when you notice when Jameis went down, Saints stopped being as competitive as they were with Jameis.
In Dalton, I trust. Where have I heard that before? That is, but you know, to your point, well, I was being facetious. But to your point, I feel much better about the backup quarterback. See, I'm all about. Right. It's important with backups. I'm telling you, and see, Charles talking about the back end. Hell, they're all tough. You got to win the week. But I feel confident that this Saints team, if all things being equal, they will be very competitive. No bold statement there with the New Orleans Saints, but they, I think they're in a lot better shape, than last year. Now, to your point, Kyle, the O-line, that left tackle, that is a very important position. I think Hurst will get the start, but we'll see. let's see if I'm right or wrong on that one. The young rookie, although
Yeah.
he's a big man, you still nothing can beat experience. Nothing can beat experience. But will he play? Yeah, but I think Hurst starts. All right,
Carlos,
we'll wrap this
I
up with
think
you,
I
Kyle.
agree. I have to agree with you. I didn't like his hand placement, and I think that's something that can be corrected. And reality is, we have really 4 weeks really remaining before the start of the season, right? Uh, 5 weeks before the start of the season for the National Football League, 3.5 with the college football. But anyway, I think the Saints can really do themselves some justice to be able to find somebody else as a swing tackle or swing guard, tackle combination type of guy to be able to help them out. I am concerned about what I saw in just those two guys with the video that I've seen. And even John Hendricks, who is my writer that is covering the Saints every day at camp, there's obviously some concern there that people are talking about. So,
Yeah, well, via free agency,
and
bring in some.
I gotta say this, man, Charles. To your credit, your Rams. Did you see Jacoby Durant intercept Stafford yesterday in practice?
I did. I did.
Yeah, the
I did.
young
Look,
bulldog looks pretty good out there.
yeah, I did. And hey, as much as I love my Rams, Matthew Stafford has, even on big moments, he's come up big. Some errant passes during the season last year. He got a football a little bit more, and the back end of that secondary's got to get better. If Joe Burrow's got another second and a half, the Bengals win the Super Bowl because Jalen Ramsey fell down. I mean, so we got to get better. Hey, I celebrated that Super Bowl for 30 days, but once free agency rolled around, bad guy goes to Buffalo, Von Miller, and so look. I want to see it happen again, but it ain't gonna be easy, and I realize that this is the National Football League. It never is.
Not for long.
The Rams
That's what it is.
are the hunted.
Not for long.
Remember that, Charles. They're the hunted, the defending Super Bowl champions.
That's correct.
You're going to get everybody's best shot. Well, Kyle, it's been a pleasure getting your perspective on SWAC Football Media Day and Saints training camp. And I'll put an asterisk by that. Left tackle needs improvement. I've got that noted down. But
losing Teron, you just can't lose Teron Armstead and expect to pick up where you left off.
Yeah, that's hard.
But guys, thank y'all. Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, have a great weekend. We'll talk again in a couple of weeks with another Saints update. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Take care.
Kyle
Bye.
Mosley joining us here on the Carlos Brown Show. Let's take a break and let's see. Coach Dooley, can't seem to find him. Wonder what happened. Everybody wants to hear from Coach Dooley. So let's see during this break. Can I find him? Well, yes, you have to say Dooley you trust right now. But guess what, though? He has done a magnificent job in the staff so far. So I know the National Alumni Conference is going on. Maybe he got pulled from there. We'll just see. So we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
carriers will give you just one measly entertainment subscription. One is no fun. With Verizon, there's up to 7 entertainment subscriptions with your unlimited plan. That's 7 times the... 7 times the... No! 7 times the... Music, gaming, Disney Plus, Hulu, ESPN Plus, and more. That's 7 times the entertainment! Because everyone deserves better. And with plans starting at just $35, better costs less than you think.
For 5-star backyards, Yellowwood brand pressure-treated pine. If it doesn't have this yellow tag, you don't want it.
Are you ready? It's time. The inaugural Urban NerdCon is coming to Montgomery, Alabama, July 29th through the 31st.
World, what's happening? Rob Morgan here. Just letting you know, July 29th through the 31st, I'll be at Montgomery, Alabama, Urban NerdCon. Come on out, get something signed, take a photo, say hello, let's share some stories and create some memories, you know? Peace.
So join us by visiting theUrbanNerdCon.net for ticket and vendor information. This will be the premier blurred event in the universe. TheUrbanNerdCon.net. Our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone's con. See you there.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Are you ready? It's time. The inaugural Urban NerdCon is coming to Montgomery, Alabama, July 29th through the 31st. Blurs, nerds, and geeks from across the universe will converge on the capital city to see celebrity guests such as The Last Dragon, Tybok, Megan Tandy, and voice actor Dave Fennoy.
Hey, how you doing? I'm voice actor Dave Fennoy with a shout out to all my geeks, freaks, and urban nerds. Just want to let you know I'm going to be there and I want to meet you at the Urban NerdCon Gaming and Cosplay event. It's happening July 29th through the 31st in Montgomery, Alabama. Hope you want to meet me as much as I want to meet you.
So join us by visiting TheUrbanNerdCon.net for ticket and vendor information. This will be the premier blurred event in the universe. TheUrbanNerdCon.net. Our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone's con. See you there.
That's a pretty tight spot.
Watch this.
Of course your Buick parks itself. That's so you.
It's just up here on the right.
Of course you know where we're going. That's so you.
Kind of got a sixth sense.
And a head-up display.
They're here.
Hit the field, warm up. You brought all these players in your Buick?
Yeah,
So you.
it is.
There's a Buick that fits your life because at the heart of every Buick SUV is you.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, right here on the Black College Sports Network. We're still looking for Coach Dewey, so he may join us. I don't know, something must have came up with him. But we still have about 40 minutes left on today's show. So hopefully, he'll join us before it's time to say goodbye. But for Southern University, of course, picked to win the West Division, Charles, and kind of just having some dialogue via text messages and email. There are some Southern alum and supporters that if they had a vote, they would not have voted Southern number one in the West. I've heard anywhere from Alcorn or Prairie View, but the defending West Division champions is Prairie View. I heard you talk about you thought it was more so because of Coach Dooley and the coaches and SIDs have the votes. I think that's some of it. I would agree, but I also would add, I think performance, execution on the field. But I think also it's that they have back and all recruiting and the impact players that they've brought in. So that's just kind of my opinion on that. You look at Southern University, one of the things I was going to ask Coach Dooley about was the quarterback room. And it's set. You know, some people talk. I'm looking at some of the comments in the chat room. They feel it's good to have a good backup quarterback. And it just looks like Bubba McDaniels will be the backup. You have Harold Blood. Bowden has been brought in to transfer from Grambling. But I think for him, it's a matter of getting acclimated and getting more comfortable with the system. They brought in a young freshman out of Dallas, Texas. And it was important, or is important, to hear the comments from Coach Dooley. He doesn't need a game manager. He needs someone at that position that can win the game, make plays. So you look at McCray as far as his physical attributes, about 6 foot. But to me, he's the definition of a true dual quarterback that can do both things well. Now, there have been people that have expressed concerns about about, Southern University goes how the quarterback goes. But I think you can say that about every team in the conference. Mike, who was watching the show, he asked me about the thoughts of a sophomore jinx. That's the way he put it, with Bonnie and Shedeur Sanders. I mean, it's a possibility, but I don't think they will have a sophomore jinx. But what I do believe is now, particularly with Bonnie, he kind of exploded on the scene, right? I think now he can't surprise people. They know what he can do. They know what Shedeur Sanders can do. And talking to him briefly at SWAC Football Media Day, like father, like son, very confident, a twinge of being a little cocky as well. But hey, look who his father is. I don't expect anything any different. But with Coach Dooley, and again, hopefully we'll have him on, I'm more so impressed with what they've been able to do defensively. When I had defensive coordinator on, Coach Miller, he talked about being able to have the depth. And if you can play 8 D linemen in the secondary, they're loaded. You can have backups come in that you don't have much of a drop-off. Linebacker core, you still probably want to see a little bit more depth. Kyle talked about O-line, even with the Saints, NFL. O-line, what kind of depth that you have there. But those are just some of the things that you have to have happen. You talked about Alcorn State, 16 offensive linemen. Across the board, depth and quality. How much of a drop, if any, you have from the first unit to the second unit? But most definitely, O-line and D-line, they don't get enough credit. That's where the games are won, along with special teams play, which is very, very pivotal.
Yeah, and to your point, you're talking about our depth up front. I just counted them. 18 is what we have right now. 18 offensive
Wow.
linemen that
Went
will
from
start
16 to
camp.
18.
18, yeah, 18. So that's what we have. But you talked about Dooley, and we all know he's an offensive minded guy. We know what he can do on the offensive side of the ball. To me, Carlos, and you would know this better than me, this on paper to me seems to be and could turn out to be Dooley's best team that he's ever had defensively, even going back to Prairie View. I mean, you look at the fact that Prairie View over the years when Dooley was there could score a ton of points, but they were giving up a ton. This year, this may be one of, and that's a question we can probably ask him. Do you think this could be one of the best defensive teams you've ever had as a head coach? Going back to Prairie View, you looking at what he's done since coming in at Southern University. I would argue that this could be one of the best defensive teams that Dooley's ever coached. If it all falls into place, because that's what Southern's Achilles heel last year. Couldn't get a stop in the Bayou Classic. I mean, it was a totally different regime, but we know he can get the quarterbacks. We know he can score points. We know he can move the defensive pieces around. But can he stop people? And that's the question. I think what I see on paper with Dumas transferring over, that's a big pickup, by the way. I think that doesn't get enough talk in terms of getting Dumas to come to Southern from Prairie View where Dooley was. I think that's huge to stabilize that defense. This could be one of Dooley's best defensive teams that he's had. And I think that doesn't get a lot of play because we know he can score some points. But, we're going to see early, Carlos, because for Southern, you got Florida Memorial. I mean, I think that's a game they'll probably win by 5 touchdowns if it all falls into place early. That you can play a bunch of people. But then you got LSU that next week. And that's where things get a little dicey in terms of how you want to do it. You want to go out and play the game, try to win the game, but we all know the dynamics of that week 2 game. You got Alcorn coming in later on in the month in September. So I think for a lot of coaches, including Coach Dooley, that first month of the season, especially with a lot of these non-conference games early, I think you're going to see a lot of guys get some action, and you're going to see, coaches rounding their rosters out in the shape in the first month.
Yeah, because let's just be brutally honest. First game, Oregon, heavily favored, but the mindset that you have to put in place is that team 0-0, they're world beaters. You go out and take right. Then the second game against LSU, I expect 2 things: show up. One, it is what it is. Now, that's going to be, I'm not going to say a hard sellout, but it's apparently going to be a sellout with Coach Gaines as head coach. But then you look at with Alcorn State, I mean, you got Texas Southern, a team that, oh my goodness, that was the game that started the ball rolling for Coach Rollins. That Texas Southern game, you had great production offensively, but you couldn't stop anybody. And let's just put it out here. Even under the guy that you love to death, Coach Odoms, I've seen the problem of stopping the run even during those times, right? Who can forget the Alcorn? Oh, else in the past. The time that they were up by 14 points twice in the game, and they gave up almost 400 yards rushing. That is abominable. They should have been practicing against the run Sunday. Hell, Saturday night after the game. We're going to have a walkthrough when we get back to Baton Rouge. But that was in the past. So saying that Southern defensively, I like what they have done. I mean, you can look at in the secondary, Terrence Dunlap, a transfer that's at Southern from Troy State. You got the Bowie State boys, what I call them. You also have a cornerback transferred in from McNeese via Kansas. So secondary, just kind of talking at Sweat Football Media Day, you're literally three deep. Secondary. Once again, linebacker. You got House, you got Herb Davis in from Iowa State. You can always add some pieces, linebacker, O-line. But that's where they're at now. And all of this, you still have to come out and execute and perform on the football field. Yes, there is pressure, and I believe Coach Dillon, he understands by being at Southern University. I'm saying when we're talking about coaches under pressure, yeah, you put Coach Dooley and all of them on that list. Coach Dooley understands expectations, at Southern University by under legendary coach Pete Richardson. So that's just the way it is. It's expectations. You got to have them. And they have a slogan, Southern is the standard, spot the ball. We will see early on. Then you got Pine Bluff. Then Coach Dooley goes back to Prairie View for the first time after being there the previous years. A big question. Maybe you can answer this, Charles. Will they finally now get a huge crowd at that football game when Coach Dooley comes back, or will it be the norm?
No, I think it'll be a big crowd. Yeah, I do think it'll be a bigger crowd. I mean, that coach helped get them a division title and almost winning a SWAC championship. I would say, Carlos, it'll be a really big crowd, maybe a sellout. Who knows? Jaguar Nation will be there. I'm hopeful anyway. I love to see big crowds, at our SWAC stadiums. I love to see packed houses. But I was on the other day with Brian Fulford and A.D. Drew, and Jamie Walker came up with one word that I've been looking for the last 3 weeks. And I think we're kind of talking around it, but to me, it's the one word that's applicable here: continuity. Continuity, right off the bat. How you get when you get the continuity with your ones and twos, your starting quarterback, when you can develop that mesh will determine, I think, how far you can go. I think continuity is going to be an issue, especially for teams with new quarterbacks and new coaches. We can talk about Southern. We could talk about Grambling, Alcorn with 2 new quarterbacks. You could talk about that as well. There's only a handful of teams, Carlos. Texas Southern, you got Jackson State, and then you got a kid at UAPB that's a 5th-year senior that's been there since 2018 that no one's talking about. So you got continuity at that position. So continuity I think, is going to be huge. It's going to be tough because you got these tough non-conference games you got to navigate. Case in point, Alcorn Stephen F., the number 10 ranked team in the FCS. Case in point, FAMU playing at North Carolina week 0, obviously, prior to Jackson State. You're going to be able to get continuity coming out of that game in a must-win against Jackson State. So if and when that happens, I think will determine where these teams go. LSU, Florida Memorial, right off the bat for Southern University. When will that continuity come together? So Jamie Walker, to me, hit it on the head. Continuity, how quickly you can get it to mesh, I think will determine how far you can go as you get deeper into the season.
Well, based on that, then, it's going to be a lot of teams trying to find that. Because they've, Jackson State, constantly, they've retooled their football team. And I say retool, I heard Coach Sanders talking about at SWAC Media Day, like the O-line that you saw last year. The way he talked there, they were not going to start. But again, fall camp competition will decide a lot of that. I'll still state that most coaches know or have an idea who their starters are going to be. You still want to see competition, but the biggest battles will be for the number 2s. Who can solidify that second slot and who could be ready if called upon via injury. You look at Alabama A&M. They went into the portal heavy, right? Defensively. Jamie talked about continuity, chemistry. I'll add that. They're going to have to develop that. FAMU went heavily into the transfer portal. That applies to them. It applies to basically everybody. You know, how many freshmen will come in and contribute? Some teams may not need freshmen to come in and contribute right away. Special teams. Mention Southern University. I had a chance to talk to all the specialists the last couple of weeks, last month. Southern went into the transfer portal. So you see where I'm going with this. Yeah, continuity, that's a word that you'll see throughout this football season, how quickly they can develop that. But it gets a start with fall camp. FAMU's started. I don't know why, Charles. I think somebody's getting ready to start, or someone started. Maybe they're not in the conference as far as their fall camp. But Southern's coming up. Alcorn's fall camp coming up. Everybody gets to start. We talked about who has the most pressure. We kind of now come into an agreement that there's pressure on every coach and staff in the conference. In past shows, we talked about sleepers. And let me say this. Mississippi Valley State, Bethune-Cookman, a lot of conversation on social media that they're going to be improved. It looks like everybody upgraded their football teams. But what happens? You know, you look at some of the tough non-conference games for teams. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Mississippi Valley, Bethune-Cookman, they may be improved, but their record may not show it. Valley has a tough non-conference schedule, and they played everybody tough in the conference. You just kind of want to see more success in the non-conference games. And I get it. I really do. I get it. They're paid to win the conference. But I think you got to start having some success in those non-conference games. So you look at an Alcorn, Stephen F. Austin. Alcorn plays McNeese State. You know, the FBS games, it is what it is. And it's interesting. Coach Sanders talked about he was asked a specific question about playing Alabama. Did you hear the response? Now, Eddie Robinson at Alabama State says would love the challenge of playing. Coach Sanders is like, no, we're not going to play those games to sacrifice our players. Well, you look surprised. You look shocked that he made that statement.
I think he may have been joking, but he made the comment, we're not ready for Nick.
No, Charles, he looked serious as a heart attack.
What I'm saying is that the comment he made about we're not ready for Nick this year, maybe next year. That was the part that caught me. Maybe next year. That's what he said.
Not even next year.
We can make of it as we will. I mean, you know, Coach could have been joking. He might have been serious. I don't know about that. When he said next year, I mean, what he said the first part, I get that. But then when he said maybe next year, so he obviously wants to add talent for 2023. And I mean, the game's not going to happen, first of all. I mean, it's not going to happen anytime soon, if at all, if ever. But I mean, it's just fun to talk about it. Just like we never thought we would see Southern and LSU play on the football field. Remember, you and I on your previous shows and previous places, I said, man, I would love to see Southern play LSU in football. And lo and behold, in the snap of a finger, it happened, right? So I guess you can't put anything past anyone. If the money's right and if the schedule's right, you can't make those type of things happen. But look, I do think that when you talk about improvements, for me, I don't think any coach in this league is going to get canned based on what they didn't do in non-conference. It's all about what you do in the conference. And it's about the improvement. You know, you look at Coach Dancy, a brand new AD, got to win more than 3 games. I mean, there's no question about that. That has to happen. The expectation for Jackson State to win it again, it's going to be tough. But, they expect to win it again, and dominate is the word Coach Sanders used. We'll see about that. 7 games on the road, including the last 3. It's not going to be easy. If they don't get out of Florida with a win, I think it's going to be tough for them to win the East. I mean, look at Alcorn. You open up with Stephen F. You got McNeese, and Tulane before your first conference game against UAPB at home, and then you go to Valley. That's not going to be easy. So there's nothing given here. We all know the expectations are high. Talking with Braves coaches, Fred McNair, Elliott Radney, OC last night, we want to get back to where we were, and we all understand that. It's not going to be easy. We got to figure out who our quarterback's going to be. Whether it's Aaron Allen or Markevian Quinn, it's going to be one of those two. Just getting that continuity in the first few weeks of camp. And look, Carlos, here's the other thing, and Coach Radden mentioned this to me last night. You don't have a lot of practice days. The days of 2-a-days and 3-a-days, that's gone. That's out. You don't have a lot of time to get yourself ready. We start next Friday at 7:45. You look at FAMU that opens up at the end of August. They have even 1 week less. Week 0. There's not a lot of time to fool around. And that's why the month of July is important in getting your kids in, because you're that much ahead of the game. But if your kids are just coming into this thing, starting this week, and you're just now starting this week, you're probably already behind as you get ready for the first week of the season. And that leads to that continuity question we talked about. Continuity just doesn't happen. It requires a lot of reps. It requires a lot of work. It requires a lot of time. And you don't have a lot of that because you don't have the 2-a-days. In some cases, in those days, you don't have that. So you don't have a lot of time to get it going.
Well, the one thing about it, that question has to be answered by everyone. Since now you don't have the traditional time as far as getting in shape, coming to camp, not have done as far as you come to camp, you got to be in shape. You don't have a whole lot of time to get things before you're ready for game. So, you got to get it done. You got to come in shape. And one of the things we'll go talk about is see the SWAC get better, and that's as far as even in the SWAC MEAC Challenge and the Celebration Bowl. You got to start having some success. Also, the Mid-East Athletic Conference and their media day, Commissioner Stills talked about, expansion in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. She's not going to be, they're not going to, let's put it that way, they're not going to be in a rush to get that done. There's a lot of conversation about the SWAC and the MEAC. Some people talk about a merger there. Also, they've talked about this super conference. Once again, you have to have a detailed plan if you're going to go in that direction. And then you're talking about, to me, 5 to 10 years. And I understand the conversation people having. No, we've got to get it done, and we got to get it done now. Now is the right moment to seize the opportunity. I just don't see it coming real soon. I think it would be put under the long-term plan as far as having all of that done. But you've got to be the best that you are and where you are now, because you're talking about increased revenues. Alumni have to give more. You've got to increase, as far as football specifically, we're talking about 63 scholarships to 85. That's 22 scholarships. So that's a cost to all of that. And so, long term, that's something to think about. But in the short term, I just don't see it happening. And Dr. McCullough talked about from a financial standpoint being very shortly top FCS football conference as far as financially. So we'll see. We'll see how all of this works out. Somebody contact Coach Dooley. Let me know. I don't know if I'll be able to reschedule him because fall camp will have started by now. We planned on having him on. I don't know what happened. He logged in, but maybe something came up. Maybe it's emergency. So I apologize.
Well, Carlos, I'll say this about the expansion, this mega conference, the super conference. I asked the commissioner about that because that's been in the wind, and he mentioned the fact that he's heard the rumors and the rumblings. He says the SWAC is not going to expand for the sake of expanding, and he mentioned the example he gave to me was a volleyball match. He said he doesn't see Alcorn going to DC to play Howard in a volleyball match. Just the travel and logistics just don't add up. So that's just one example that he uses, probably many he could use when it comes to that. Is the SWAC listening? Absolutely, they're listening. It's business. You're always listening. But do you see this happening in the short term? No. In the middle term, perhaps. In the long term, maybe. I think that's, and you said long term in the next 5 to 10 years. If I were to put a little money on it, I don't have any money, but if I were to put a little money on it, I would say it'll be within 10 years. I would say probably within 6 years, I can see it happening because the dollars are going to dictate how you handle this because it's all about the dollars and the TV revenue. We know what the MEAC looks like now. And the commissioner, she put on her best face in trying to say, hey, the MEAC is viable. I think there's going to be a lot of pushback because of the history and tradition. You lose a Hampton, you lose a North Carolina A&T, and just a tradition. So a lot of the oxygen left out of the MEAC, and excuse the noise, the guy cutting the grass out here, right out here. But I think the
Tell him do his work.
He has to do his work. The tradition of the MEAC, I think there might be a little bit more pushback from the MEAC faithful, the ones that are part of the MEAC, the Howards of the world and the Norfolks of the world. I think they're going to push back. They want to keep the MEAC where it is. Now, the dollars might dictate something else in the next couple of years. It's going to have to be a serious conversation on that side of on that side of the track. But I do, in the short term, I don't see it happening. In the middle term, I do think conversations will be had. And what we term as long term, I can see it happening. Because if you're a MEAC fan, unless you can bring in some teams to help replace what you lost, some traditional teams that can help you build your conference back up to where it was, I can see it happening. But right now, I don't in the short term. I don't see it happening.
Well, speaking on that, we now have probably one of the busiest guys in college athletics, Coach Dooley. Coach Dooley, I appreciate the time. I know you've been really busy. Coach, how you doing? Good afternoon.
No, I guess I can say now, good afternoon. I was logged on for a while. I was trying to text you and let you know that I was back in. The phone had turned off. I was actually at a alumni roundup, but I'm here. I wanted to make sure I honor my word.
Well, I appreciate it. I figured something was going on and kept you on too long on hold. I apologize for that. Coach, you know what? In coaching, you always have to make adjustments. Same thing when you host a show. You got to make adjustments, and then when it doesn't go right, you own up to it. You don't pass the buck on nobody else. So I take full responsibility for that, Coach. Once again, appreciate you coming on. SWAC Football Media Day, Coach, has come and gone. Your thoughts on predicted to win the Western Division? Does that phase you one way or the other, or you're more concerned with getting fall camp started and getting the season started?
I know that's part of all of the things that we do, and for as people predicting, I guess it goes two ways. When they predict you to be last, you're upset and mad, but when they predict you to win it, then you kind of say that they know what they're talking about. So, in my mind, it doesn't matter. We just got to know what we want to accomplish and what we set out to do, and just have confidence in what we do.
Um, coaching is one thing, but being doing the media responsibilities wasn't your first rodeo. Being at SWAC Football Media Day, but was this one a little different, or was it kind of the same as usual?
Well, I guess I've been fortunate enough now to see that, and I always look at just how things are moving forward, and just from what Charles have done, the professionalism and how the media were there and how things was handled, I just thought it got better, and that's what you look for. You want to see if you can grow, and I can see that it has grown. I can see that the things that we did, maybe 4 years ago, is much better, and that's what I always look for.
Yeah, it's a lot more interest in SWAC football now, especially media. It's grown a tremendous amount. Now, Coach, you're days away from your first fall camp as head football coach at Southern University. And now you've been to Southern's fall camps. You've been involved in it as an assistant under legendary coach Pete Richardson. But now, talk about the excitement. Your first fall camp as Southern's head football coach.
It's different. It's different, and I couldn't sit here and say, well, it's the same old thing. I've been to this before. No, it's different because I'm sitting in a different chair right now, and I do understand the responsibilities. But I'm up for the challenge, and I've been saying it, and I'm going to continue to say that when your steps are ordered, you already know what to expect. You just got to just move in that direction and be ready and be set for the challenge and know what's there for you. You got to surround yourself with good people, and I feel I've done a good job of surrounding myself with big people, with a lot of good people. So it's not just all on me. I know initially the finger's going to be pointed at me, but you just got to surround yourself with good people and have confidence in what you're doing and move forward. So it's very, very exciting. It's still unbelievable. Sometimes I still get those moments where, man, this is really, really happening. That's gives me that opportunity to just look up and say, again, don't mean to get that way on you guys, but I have to. Just thank you, Jesus, because it did happen and it's a blessing for me.
Expectations, Coach Dooley. That's a word we use a lot. Um, Expectations. How do you handle expectations now in this role at Southern University?
And I won't sit here and use words, but expectations never bother me because I don't think there's an individual or any platform can have higher expectations for myself than what I have. So I'm going to always have high expectations regardless of what. I can come and feel I didn't have nobody here. I'm still expected to win in my mind. That's just the way my mindset is. So I accept that high expectation. I wouldn't want it any other way because I don't want to go to a place where being mediocre is okay. It's accepted. No, I'm looking for to win it all. That's what you want to do. That's what you set out to do.
And Coach Dooley, expectations. We can build on that now. Moving along, quarterback room. It's pretty much set now. I've had people tell me, well, Coach Dooley has said that the quarterback situation is set. What are your expectations for the quarterback room? Is McCray his job to lose?
Well, you have to have a order coming out of spring. You can't be, in my opinion, in disarray and not have a pecking order as to who's going to go out first. Because I mean, it's going to be a time when I believe in everything being decent and in order. So when you set that depth chart and those guys read the depth chart, they got to know who's going to take the first snaps. They got to understand that. From leaving out of the spring, he earned the right to take the first snaps. So yeah, he'll be starting off right now, but they all know, everybody that's on that team know that it's competition. It doesn't end. It doesn't stop. They got to compete every day in everything that they do and say. So the competition is going to be there. And of course, we're going to name one because I believe in having a direction, and I feel real good about it. I got a good grasp because I had 15 days on all of those guys, so I understand. And we bring some new guys into the puzzle as well. But I feel real confident that the one thing I can say, whoever come out on top in that room, I feel real confident that we'll be able to do the things that we want to do.
So McCray, I'll make sure I understand right. McCray has earned the right coming out of spring to have the first snap in fall camp, but competition is still expected when fall camp starts. Am I correct?
Absolutely, because you can't, you can't give a guy a job and then he retrogress. I mean, you're not doing any good. You got to always continue to progress and get better. So I think that's our order right.
Uh-oh. Coach Dooley, I guess we'll try to get him back. I don't see him anymore. But he was making Charles a very interesting point on the quarterback room, and it's basically said it's McCray. Uh, McCray, there he goes. He's back. Let's see, Coach Dooley, can you hear me? We'll give him a minute to get himself settled again. But it was important, Charles, what he was talking about. McCray has earned the right. You can't regress. So with that being said, McCray, it is his job uh, to lose, but you're going to have competition. You're still going to have battles in fall camp, and you just got to continue to progress to keep it. Let let's do this, Charles, because I can't hear you. Let's take a timeout. AD will take a timeout, and hope we can get Coach Dooley back. Well, let's see. Coach Dooley, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. I'm here.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I didn't see you. I couldn't hear you. You were talking about the quarterback position, so it's kind of set. And McCray is he has won the right to be number one in fall camp. So let me move off of that, and then I'm sure Charles has a question or two. You're known as an offensive guru, and I've talked to some of your colleagues, said one of the best offensive minds in the game. But what I've noticed is the improvement that you have, and you and your staff, how you've recruited, you've added pieces on the defensive side of the ball. Talk about how important that is, being an offensive guy, but also a guy that knows you have to have players on the other side of the ball defensively.
Well, you gotta challenge yourself, and I do understand. Everyone thinks that I'm offensive minded, rightfully so. That's gave me the opportunity. That gave me the opportunity to be a head coach. Now, as a head coach, I got to build a team. I can't just build an offense. I got to build a team. So, what's important to me is the offense, the defense, as well as the special team, because I'm going to deal in three phases. So, I do understand, and I'm going to always look at. I want to potentially I give myself not saying that I'm that guy, but I want a defense that's going to be able to stop me. That's what I'm looking for. So that gives me the opportunity to go out and build. I know that, and then I know what is needed to win the conference as well. To win football games, you got to have a great defense, because a great defense is going to turn the ball over to give to the offense to become a great offense.
So, Coach Julie, I've been told, man, the had over the years, defense, they go up against an explosive offense, and it's a battle, it's a competition. So it sounds like that's what you're saying. Prospect defense, you and your staff there, they're going to be good just from that competition.
Well, I think iron sharpen irons, and that's what you got to have around you. You got to make sure that you're getting better all in all phases. If not, if you just got one team that's doing better than the other, or that's great, and the other team is that bad off, then it's going to be impossible to be great. So we believe in iron sharpen iron. So we got to have, in my opinion, we got to have the best defense. We got to have the best special teams, and then we got to have the best offense, and then that makes a complete football team.
Make an adjustment, Charles. Question or
Hey,
two?
Coach Dooley, got a couple of questions for you. We talked about it before you went on. We know what you can do offensively in terms of all the quarterbacks that you've dealt with, Kincaid and Pass and others. Defensively, based on what you've got on that side of the ball, you were just talking about it a little bit with Dumas coming over. Is it safe to say that this could be one of the best defensive teams you've ever been a part of, whether be it at Grambling or the head coach at Prairie View? Does the defense and the pieces you have right now, could turn into be one of the best defensive teams you've ever been around?
I will say, hey, that's what I'm hoping for. You go out and recruit those type of guys. That's what you want to happen. I will say that group that was at Grambling was a very special group. Those guys turned the football over quite a bit.
Well, he's in transit. We'll get him back. That was an important point. He was talking about defensively, and I guess you kind of think of some of the teams that I've seen over the years. A FAMU offense. What was it? Gulf Coast offense, but they had a defense that ran, I believe, a 4-6, and their whole mindset defensive was to get turnovers, be aggressive to turn that ball back over to their explosive offense. Coach, I was talking about the Gulf Coast offense that FAMU had under former coach Billy Joe, and they had a defense that believed and had the mindset of turning the ball, getting turnovers to get the ball back to their explosive offense. Is that kind of the mindset that you have, Coach Dooley?
I think what's happening every time somebody try to call in, it cuts you guys off.
Oh, okay. Well, that's probably happening. Once again,
But
I
I can say,
apologize.
Charles, to answer your question, Charles, I think we have to make up to have a great defense. Now, on paper it's great. Now we got to go out and we got to execute. That's what it's all about. Now putting those pieces together. That's why you got to be very, very selective in who you choosing to bring with you. Everybody's got a lot of great athletes, but can they gel together as one and play together? Everybody can't play together, and that's the most important part that I try to find. What does this guy bring to Southern University? Can he play at a Southern University? How would he fit in at a Southern University? So I think it's more true than just recruiting talent. You got to understand character. You got to understand personality. And you just got to understand how guys get along. So I thought the assistant coaches did a great job in putting that together. Now we just got to go out and we just got to be able to execute in all three phases, especially defensively.
The one thing, Coach, that we kind of talked about before you came on is continuity. That's the one word that I was referring to. First year coach in a new place. You're not a first year coach overall, but being at Southern, how important has that, and how do you feel like that has gelled since coming to Baton Rouge?
I think it's very important, and that's why I use so much with my team. Out of sight is out of mind. You got to be in sight so that we can get together and we can build that chemistry. So, we're fortunate enough for our team to be here all summer long, and I think that's huge. But it's all. I know everybody want to talk about strength and conditioning, and I think that's very, very important. But I look at the other part, being around each other, knowing who to trust, being able to trust everyone, because I know what that individual been through, and he know what I've been through. So it's a trust factor. So to me, it's out of sight, out of mind, and our guys been here in sight and been working together. So I feel we should have that chemistry. It should be there now because that's what it took over the summer.
Coach, offensively, how excited are you? For example, the running back room. You got great student athletes returning. You've added some pieces. How excited are you about the running back room, and does it keep you up at night? Not in a bad way, but a good way to have those type of explosive athletes at that position.
I can't say I'm very excited because now it just it gives you an opportunity. I just think you got to be creative. You got to be very, very creative and understand. You got to be able to, use your talent that you have there. And offensively, we tell everyone there's enough food at the table for everybody. So you just got to sit to the table. If you sit to the table, you get a chance to eat.
Wow, that's a good answer because I mean, just from the outside looking in, you can see the explosive people that you have there. A couple more things for you, Coach, and appreciate the time and making the adjustment. Um, Wide receiver, that position. Now, I'm pretty sure offensive guy. You look at that position, you've added a couple of pieces there. Uh, how is the wide receiver room looking for you, and is there a level of excitement as well as far as the wide receivers as the running back room?
I'm very excited about that receiver room because, first of all, I got to make sure that receiver room is right because that's my identification. I'm a former wide receiver,
Yes,
so
sir.
if I can't bring wide receivers here, what am I doing? So, of course, that's the most critical room right there. I'm going to look at that room right there, and you gotta be a step above. There's no question about that. So, but the coaches did go out and get some guys that I feel that fits into the scheme that we want to do, and that's what it's about. I know a lot of guys look at high-profile athletes, look at I guess now we talking about you know uh, what their grade level is or whatever. I look and see what fit what was best for us, what can help us to win. What do I look into as looking for a wide receiver? So I thought they went out and got some good ones, and I can tell you what, it's going to be very, very exciting, and I'm excited. I can't wait to see those guys play.
Coach, I was told this from a good source. There's that word. Um, you are actually running routes. Um, You seem to be in good shape. Now that's what I was told because the former receiver, a guy on the collegiate level, is that true or was that just a rumor?
I believe you got to perfect everything. I believe in still being able to do it a little bit. And I'm not going to say that I can do it at the level of the skill that those guys can do, but you can always run a precise route. You can always run a nice route. So I'm always perfect that craft, regardless of what the age. That's just something I just believe in. I think that I can. If it comes down to it, I have to show them how I need that route to be ran. I don't have an issue with it.
Wow, Coach, I'm sorry, you still look like you can get out there and give a great effort. Just my
Well,
opinion. Coach,
effort is free now. Effort is free. You don't have to be given that. That just got to come from within. So of course, I'm gonna give a great effort.
I'm gonna have to remember that one. Yep, it's the effort. That's right. That's right. We're visiting with Coach Eric Dooley, head football coach at Southern University. Now, Coach, tell me if you agree or disagree, and it's all right if you disagree. I have this theory that going into fall camp, most coaches kind of have an idea of who the star's going to be, but they still want competition there. But the biggest thing is who's going to be the number twos and who could come in if there's an injury or what have you that could come in and don't have a big drop off. If is that kind of your theory? You kind of know who's going to be number one, but the biggest battles in camps may perhaps be for backups, the number twos.
You know, everyone that knows me and knows me well, I write a depth chart almost every day. I write a depth chart every day. I believe in just writing a depth chart every day. But we tell our players starting is only one play. Starting is only one play. So we also prime our guys that are twos. They are starters as well, because we like to run multiple plays on offense. I'm trying to get 100 snaps. So there's not one individual that can take 100 snaps and be effective. So therefore, we're preparing multiple teams to be ready to go. So we don't want to drop off. We feel we got guys that can come in and play, and it's the same guy. So starting is just that first play. So our twos and I can go as far as saying our threes is going to be prepared to play.
Interesting. Visiting with Coach Eric Dooley, head football coach at Southern University. Coach, when I saw you at Media Day, I showed you a picture. And I know, everyone talks about the drip, Coach Drip. That's the name that's been used. Look good, play good. I'm gonna see if AD, the producer, I showed you this picture, and I want to say you said working on it. If AD, we could put that picture up of a future helmet. Boy, you talk about coordination and the possibilities you can do um, with that helmet. It was a Columbia blue helmet. Um, how impactful would that be to have multiple uh, uniforms? I know it cost. There we go. I happen to love it. That's just me. But Coach, maybe something we could see in the future.
I love it. I had that picture maybe 4 months ago, five when I first got here. And
Mhm.
again, working on it. I can tell you that, working on it.
Man, I can see that in the. Would you go with the blue jersey and the blue pants? Wow, I just love it. Hey,
So
a
I
bit
like
of the
I like it.
flash.
We definitely working on. We definitely want to have multiple helmets.
Yes, sir. Um, Coach, the fall camp official start. What day is it? August the what?
We're gonna check in August 2nd, and our first practice will be August 3rd.
Will it be? I know some coaches like to do a split opening couple of days, upperclassmen, newcomers, freshmen, but that's everybody's going to hit the field for the first practice together, correct?
Yeah, our freshmen been here all summer, so the butterflies and all those things are out. They've been here all summer. They understand. They gel with their new teammates, so they here. So now we'll hit the field on the 3rd as one.
The third as one. Well, Coach, I'll say this in our closing. I got a chance to interview your special team. I call them specialists, from the long snapper uh, to Griffin, kickoff specialist, Luke Jackson. And I did that because a lot of times we hear that that's important. But I wanted the
Absolutely.
audience to feel that they're also, hey, a big part of the team, special teams, kickoff returns, punt returns. How crucial is that?
Special teams going to win you a lot of games, especially when you prepare for them. Uh, I think big it's a big phase of the game, just like offense and defense. Uh, it can win the game for you, but it can also lose the game for you. So we big on special teams. We're not that team that have special team at the end of practice. No, special teams is throughout practice. So they don't get a chance to go into their own little world because they're not. I mean, they're involved in the offensive unit, defensive unit when we're doing certain things. It may be a team period, then it may be a special team period, maybe another period, then another special team period. So they're very involved throughout the whole practice, from start to finish. So they don't get a chance to say, "Well, I can go into my own world." Now they're a part of this team, and it's huge to me, and those guys understand that. So we work it a whole lot.
Well, on that note, I was going to ask you about uh, future needs as far as your football team, but I think you have to just focus on, on this season before asking you that question. What are your needs going to be for next year? But Coach, best of luck coming back to Southern University. I think the excitement is there, and this 2022 football season should be outstanding. Final closing comments for you, Coach.
Well, I thank you guys for having me on, and just to always display the Jaguar Nation and talk about them. But we're very, very excited. I do want guys to get their season books. It's going to be an exciting season for us. We want to be able to pack the stands. I know we pack a lot of other folks' stands, but we got to pack Munford Stadium. It's going to be an exciting thing for us. Come see the new look Jaguars. We're excited about it and see what we have to display. I think it's going to be a show, though.
Coach, I'm sorry. Tell me about. I heard you mention on several occasions about the tempo of your football team. Is it going to be kind of like basketball on the football field as far as the tempo?
Absolutely. We play basketball on the football field. That's what we're doing, up and down. We're gonna be fast. We're gonna be fast and physical. That's what we like. We like tempo, and that's the purpose of having depth. You got to have depth because you got to be able to move. We believe in getting around, so we're gonna do some things fast. Our defense play fast. Our special team play fast, and our offense play fast. So it's just around the table, and we understand what we're looking for and how to get it done. So I thought the team picked it up well. We still got a ways to go. We still got some things we got to work on. I don't think they would ever get as fast as I want them to be, but they're on the right street. I can say that.
Wow, Coach Dooley, if I didn't know any better, I think you went to some classes with Coach Ben Joe. He said he gets up 100 shots in the game, he's going to win. And do this. Tell your staff, continue to grind and keep up the good work. And Coach Graves had a recent procedure. We wish a speedy recovery for him as well.
Yeah, Coach Gray had us, always praying for him, but I told him he's not coming to camp. You can't make the club in the tub, so we gonna keep him out of camp. We got coaches on the list that's not coming in, but no, Coach Gray, he's up. He's doing well. He's been in the office. He's ready to go. He's excited. You can't keep Coach. He won't be as loud, but he's gonna still be loud and up tempo and ready to go. That's just a little bump in the road, and he's ready to roll now.
Yeah, that's a powerful statement. You're right. It's not going to stop him. You would have to have some heavy duty equipment to keep him out. Coach, you continue to be safe, you and your family, and appreciate the time. And we will get a chance to see you later on. Go Jags, and appreciate your time, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
All
Go
right.
Jags.
Go Jags. That was Coach Eric Dooley. We appreciate him making the adjustment to come on. We've had to make several adjustments on this show, so we appreciate everyone sticking in with us. I want to thank Roy being the producer to start us off, A.D. Drew, the middle innings, and the closer on today's show. Charles, let's get ready to wrap it up. It's 1:50 Central Standard Time. Your thoughts of Coach Dooley?
Man, I need to call Coach McNair and say, Coach, we got to make that trip across the hump. I mean, we know what Dooley's offenses are all about. We even at Prairie View, getting up as many plays as you can, and he's got the pieces to do it. And it's gonna be interesting if you get it going against Florida Memorial and then a good showing against LSU. I think the Jaguar Nation is going to be very pleased with what they have going. I mean, I felt Dooley was the right guy for the job. He came in hitting the ground running, getting the right staff, a lot of Southern flavor, a lot of SWAC flavor, a lot of Louisiana flavor. And I think, if you follow Southern and you love them, and I know a lot of people do, I think Dooley's made all the right moves. We'll see how it pans out on the football field. But I was very impressed with what he was saying there. I think it's going to add to the intrigue of the Western Division.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting 2022 football season. Thanks to everyone who tuned in and watched us. We appreciate you. That's going to do it. Make sure you join me, as always, every Saturday from most times 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central Standard Time for the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. You see this guy with the chant. Oh my goodness. Unbelievable. Until next time, peace and God bless.